Hello everyone, my name is Antonia Ruppel. You may know me from my Sanskrit classes, or you may be taking my Latin for Sanskritists course with me and reading Seneca with me right now. But today I would like to talk a little bit about our new Greek for Sanskritists course. Now, that is actually a bit of a misnomer because the course is Greek in the sense of ancient Greek, classical Greek, not just for Sanskritists, for people who've studied some Sanskrit, but also for people with a background in Latin or with some general linguistic training who know what I mean when I talk about noun cases or verb tenses or stems, declensions, and endings and such. But try and fit that into a course title. The course is offered via Yogic Studies, where Sanskrit is the main language, and so Greek for Sanskritists it is. Now, what is the idea behind this course? Well, Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, and a number of other languages are related. They go back to the same original language. And we know that this is the case because they show big structural parallels. They express information in the same way. They express the same kind of information. What do I mean by that? Well, take, for example, verbs. If you're coming from Latin or Sanskrit, you're used to verbs expressing five kinds of information, person, number, tense, voice, mood. What's that? Well, if I have a Sanskrit form such as bharati, he, she, or it carries, then that is third, singular, present, active, indicative. Third singular, he, she, it, as opposed to you or I, first or second. Singular, one, as opposed to more than one. Present, happening now rather than in the past or in the future. Active, he, she, or it carries, as opposed to is carried, for example. Indicative, talking about something that is the case, as opposed to something that could be, might be, should be, and so on. Exactly the same thing in Latin. If I have a verb such as laudo, I praise, then that is first singular, present, indicative, active. And we'll see that in Greek, if you look at a verb form such as, I don't know, fere, he carries, that also is third singular, present, indicative, active. And that's just one example out of many. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have already thought your way through one of these systems in one language, then re-encountering and recognizing that system in another language is going to be fairly straightforward. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. We will look, first of all, at the system of how nouns work, how verbs work. We'll see what we already know from Latin or Sanskrit, and then we will rediscover that more or less same stuff in Greek, which means that we can fairly quickly move on to all the things where Greek is different from Latin or Sanskrit or other languages, and where we thus need to pay close attention to see how exactly things work in Greek. And that actually can help us with our other language abilities. What do I mean by that? For example, in Greek, the verb expresses not just these five categories, person, number, tense, voice, mood, meet the cat, but also another kind of information that we call aspect. Aspect is about the nature of an action. And we have three kinds of aspects, namely ongoing, simple, and completed. And in Greek, the three past tenses, imperfect, perfect, and aorist, well, imperfect, aorist, and perfect, represent these three aspects. So, for example, if I want to say, I was sitting at home, ongoing aspect, while I was sitting at home, the doorbell rang, then for while I was sitting at home, I'd use the imperfect, and then suddenly simple action, the doorbell rang, that would be the aorist. Or if I say something like, I have come here, and thus I am now here, he has died, and thus is dead, very important example in some Greek texts, unfortunately, then that would be the perfective aspect, which is represented by the perfect tense. Now that helps Sanskritists see why in classical Sanskrit do we have three tenses, imperfect, aorist, perfect, that basically do the same thing. Sanskrit, for whatever reason, chose to maintain all three paradigms, the forms of all three tenses, but it lost the difference in meaning. If you want to read some older texts, so for example, the Rig Veda or similarly old Vedic texts, you'll see that there actually you have the exact same distinction, the exact same system of aspects that you also have in Greek. Or if you come from a Latin background, you'll already have encountered aspect a little bit. For example, in the contrast between imperfect and perfect. Imperfect is I was doing something, perfect is I did something. But then the perfect also is there to talk about something that's happened in the past and has a present result. So I have seen, I have come, I have won. I did that in the past and now I am the winner. Why does the perfect do that? And why is the perfect such a mess, formally speaking? Why do I have so many different ways of forming the perfect stem? Well, actually, that's because the perfect is a mix of the original aorist and perfect, and so it combines the forms and the functions of the original aorist and perfect, which in Greek we will see beautifully separately. So, we'll use the knowledge from our already existing languages to help us understand Greek, and then Greek will help us understand a number of things that perhaps were unclear to us or that perhaps were puzzling us in our old languages. Latin, Sanskrit. There's a couple of other languages that this applies to as well. So that is one big principle at the basis of our course. The other is that in spite of all the parallels that I was just talking about, there actually are a number of things where understanding systems doesn't help you, but instead you need to memorize. And that applies to vocabulary and it applies to inflectional forms. So case forms, noun forms, verb forms, stems, endings, all that sort of thing. And normally in an intro Greek course, you have a year to find your way around all of these. And this course, Greek for Sanskritists, is supposed to take 12 weeks and not an entire year. So how on earth are we going to do this? Basically, the answer is two things are going to help us. The first thing is that you'll get handouts from me with very easy to navigate, very easy to find your way through tables with all of this formal information, with all of the noun forms, all of the verb forms, everything that you may eventually want to memorize. And we'll look at exactly where in these tables what kind of information is. So I'll show you exactly how to use these tables. And then armed with those tables, we will start reading texts, and those texts will be laid out in such a way that you'll have a piece of original text, and then either at the bottom of the same page or on the facing page, so basically visible at the same time, you will get not only a complete vocab list for everything in that text, but also grammar notes that I've written specifically for each text that point out everything that's tricky, that's difficult to recognize, everything that may make it difficult for you to identify the right place in your tables to find the information that you need to understand, oh, this word is that and that form. This word needs to be translated in that and that way. So armed with the tables and the other relevant information on the same page as whatever text we're looking at, we will read together and do more reading. And that way, the information that you can't understand, but that you need to basically know, that theoretically you need to memorize, that information will slowly make its way into your brain and will settle there. In other words, memorization will absolutely be encouraged. I will give you online electronic flashcards. I will suggest a timetable for what to look at when. I will give you quizzes, optional quizzes to encourage memorization. But the express goal of the course is to let you access, read, enjoy original Greek texts before you have finished, long before you have finished with all of that memorization. Now, that's an approach that I've been using for about 5 years at this point. My Sanskrit reader is based exactly on this thought. The Seneca reader I've made for the Seneca course that I'm teaching right now, so for the Latin for Sanskritists course, and then for the Latin for Sanskritists course, I also made this, which is, as I say, just very basic, easy to navigate tables. So here you can see, the verb and everything, or noun forms. And as I say, we'll talk about exactly how to use this, where to find what. And of course, not with this, because this is Latin, but you'll have something like this for Greek. And in my experience, this approach works. In my experience, this approach is a lot less painful than the first you'll memorize everything and then we'll let you look at the good stuff that you sometimes find in some courses. So that is Greek for Sanskritists, asterisk, and everybody else with similar prior linguistic experience. It's taught via Yogic Studies. You can find their website at yogicstudies.com. It is a 12-week course starting in September. There are 2 live sessions, 90 minutes each, every week. The sessions are all recorded, so that if you can't make a session live, not a problem at all. You just watch it whenever you have time. They're usually made available on the course website within a couple of hours, but definitely, by the next day, by the day after the class. They're made available in perpetuity, so you can watch them the next day or in the following year, whichever you like. You can watch them as many times as you want. You can interrupt them and look something up, whatever works for you. There is an online course forum that we use to communicate outside class. Then this course is followed by another course starting in January, also 12 weeks, same basic setup, in which we will be reading with lots and lots of notes using a reader such as this that I'm going to make for that course. Plato's Apology, which is the account of the trial of Socrates after he's been accused by the city of Athens of impiety and corrupting the youth of the city. And in May, there will be a 3rd course where we will be reading not a prose text, but a verse text. I haven't completely decided yet what I want us to do, but it will either be Euripides' Medea or Sophocles' Antigone, and whichever one it is going to be, I can promise you it will be a very good read indeed. So that's it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please email me at antonia@yogicstudies.com. Antonia@yogicstudies.com. And perhaps I'll see a few of you in September. Take care.